Hi, it's Dr. Parikh, and I'm talking now about how to choose measures for your study. So you're going to so first we're writing a literature review, but we're also going to transform that into a research proposal. In order to do research, you need to measure something. And in order to write in a detailed way, you need to use pre-existing measures. And that's part of the scientific method, is using measures that other people have used, that we know how they work. We have some evidence that they're actually measuring what they say they're measuring, because I can use a yardstick to measure IQ. That doesn't make it a good measure. I'll get a consistent result. If I measure you 2 different times, you're gonna, in 2 days, you're probably gonna get the same IQ. That doesn't mean I'm actually measuring your IQ. That's an exaggeration, but that's the kind of issue we have. That's why you can't just make up the questions you want to ask. A lot of students are disappointed by the limits of what they can ask based on measures. I'm disappointed too. I'm working on a study right now that I am quite disappointed that there aren't the perfect measures out there for me to use. That is part of scientific life. So how do you choose measures? Basically, choose something that you are interested in, that you understand, and that you can get full information on. So you'll have a few different things. I have my article notes template. So for every article that you wrote about, you should have a list of what measures they used. So that is your starting point. If you notice several articles use the same measure, that might be a good one for you to use. And it depends, like this one looks at PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I need a really simple research question. I'm not going to ask about all of those. I'm going to ask about one of those. And so I have to think about which one is most interesting to me. I can go back and reread the section of my article where it talks about each of those and see. This one is not super well labeled. Most articles are a little better at showing you where the different measures are. Yeah, here it is. So, and you see they mention validated screening measures. It's a big deal. It's important. It's part of peer review, is people saying, are you using good measures? So here there's not a lot of information. It just says the post-traumatic checklist, civilian PCLC. But you can always go to PsycInfo or even just to the library's website. And you can do a quick search. Let me also start opening, so there's a template specifically for the measure. Oh, I don't know, where's that box? Yeah, I'm gonna open it. So I can come in here and I can just type, let's see, post-traumatic, I'm not spelling well, post-traumatic checklist, civilian, and I can look to see what comes up. You'll probably have to find some sort of other article. I can also look to see what they're citing, 18 through 20. This one doesn't use APA style. They use footnotes. And so I can go and I can look and I can see, and again, these are not quite in APA style, the references, but I can also look up these articles in the library, which is what I actually did. And you can see I'm finding different articles, and I can limit it to full text online so that I can make sure that I can find them quickly. You can also just do a Google search. You will need some references, but like I found, you'll need access to at least one sample item. And so I found, I can just search PCLC, and you can see I've looked at a PDF that shows the specific questions, because my article didn't list a question. I'm also using this measure in another study, so I needed all the questions. But you only need to have a sample question for this. So here's the template. You need a good bit of information about it. Some things like age range, there's none specified, so I say it's probably not meant for 6-year-olds. It's probably meant for adults. So I would guess somewhere around 14 or 16 years old, you could probably try it, but it might not be valid until 18 or 20. What language? I have some articles that have Nepali translations, but it's originally in English. Are there any restrictions? It's not meant for military members. Format, you could do it paper and pencil or online. Some things you actually have to do paper and pencil. Other things you have to do online, or you have to do an interview with a clinician, just whatever, however this gets administered. How many items? You need a sample item. And I had to give part of the directions so that the question made sense. How is it being scaled? Pay attention to the italics here. That's an important part of for formatting. You'll notice that in the APA manual stuff. How is it scored? And you want to make sure you tell me what higher scores mean. Is high good? Is high bad? Don't use words good or bad. Just tell me like higher scores indicate more symptoms of PTSD. You and I both know that it's bad. I don't need to say higher scores are bad. If there's any cutoffs, like some things like the Beck Depression Inventory, or here there's a cutoff that like 50 or above says, yeah, this is probably a clinical level issue. And then this is just a reminder that you need to attach PDFs of all the original articles. So I would include the article that I was reading that I found it in. I would also include the other article that I found some of the information here in. And that's really it's mostly so that I can check it real quick if something seems off. I can check and help you make sure you get your information right. So just to recap, pick measures that you're interested in, but mostly that you understand and that you can find all the information for. You're going to pick 2 measures. You can chat with me about how to decide which one you want to go with. Some research questions, you'll actually use both measures, but most people ask a research question about like, does age or does your sex or your gender identity, do those things affect differences? Or if I do a manipulation, is there a difference in this outcome variable? So most of us will only need 1 measure. You might end up doing something with 2 measures. Just chat with me if you're not sure how to go. But I think you should be good. It's exciting. You're starting to work on your research question. You're a scientist. Woohoo! Bye.